It started like every other Tuesday. Nobody expected the fire alarm to force one question. Was this just another alarm or the beginning of something else? Every workplace incident tells a story. Every story reveals a leadership lesson. Helping everyday managers respond to workplace emergencies. This is the RiskHound Weekly Brief. The fire alarm had been sounding for less than 30 seconds, yet something far more significant than the alarm itself was already unfolding. Across the production floor, machines slowed to a stop as conversations dissolved into silence. Employees instinctively looked toward the ceiling, then toward one another, searching for some indication of what was happening. There was no smoke drifting through the building, no visible flames, and no obvious signs of danger. To an outside observer, everything appeared almost ordinary. That uncertainty was exactly what made the moment so dangerous. Somewhere near the assembly line, a supervisor reached for a handheld radio, while another stepped cautiously into the hallway. A voice carried across the room. "Is this another drill?" No one answered, not because no one cared, but because no one actually knew. Moments like these rarely begin with chaos. They begin with uncertainty. In the absence of information, people naturally begin creating their own explanations. Some assume it's another false alarm. Others hesitate, waiting for instructions that haven't yet been given. A few begin making decisions on their own, each one acting with the best intentions but without any coordination. The incident is no longer waiting to happen. It has already begun, not because firefighters have arrived, not because anyone has confirmed there is a fire, but because people are already looking for someone to lead. Across the building, an operations manager pauses for a brief moment, taking in the scene unfolding around them. Employees glance in their direction, almost instinctively. No one asks the question aloud, but it hangs in the air just the same. What should we do? In that instant, the role changes. Only moments earlier, this manager's responsibilities were production schedules, staffing, and operational performance. Now, without warning, the responsibility is something entirely different. The business has become secondary. The safety of every person in the building has quietly become the highest priority. Whether they expected it or not, they are now the incident leader. The decisions made over the next few minutes will influence far more than how quickly people leave the building. They will determine whether employees remain calm, whether accountability can be established, whether emergency responders receive reliable information, and ultimately whether a routine alarm remains a routine alarm or becomes something much more serious. The first 5 minutes of every workplace emergency have a remarkable way of shaping everything that follows, and those 5 minutes have only just begun. Let's pause the story, because this is the first leadership decision that will shape everything that follows. At first glance, the question seems simple. The alarm is sounding. No one has reported smoke. No one has confirmed there's a fire. So do you begin evacuating the building immediately? Or do you spend another minute trying to determine what's actually happening? That's the decision. And it's more difficult than it sounds because uncertainty naturally makes us want more information before we act. Our instinct is to answer the question, "What's happening?" But the people around you aren't waiting for an explanation. They're waiting for leadership. In moments like this, employees rarely follow the alarm. They follow the person they believe is in charge. They're watching your body language, listening to your tone, looking for someone who appears to know what to do next. That's why experienced incident leaders ask themselves a different question. Not, "Do I know exactly what's happening?" but, "What decision best protects people while I continue gathering information?" Notice that the question has changed. The goal is no longer to solve the mystery before taking action. The goal is to make the safest, reasonable decision while the situation is still developing. Experienced incident leaders don't delay protective actions while they search for certainty. They begin protecting people immediately, while continuing to gather information and adjust their response as new facts emerge. Remember, as an incident leader, you must treat every fire alarm as a real incident until you have credible information proving otherwise. That simple mindset reduces hesitation, prevents complacency, and ensures your first decisions are driven by safety, not assumptions. Now let's look at why experienced incident leaders think differently under pressure. So what allows experienced incident leaders to make decisions like that while everyone else is still searching for answers? The difference isn't experience alone. It's the way they think. Behavioral scientist Daniel Kahneman spent decades studying how people make decisions under uncertainty. He found that our brains use two different thinking systems. The first is System 1. It's fast, automatic, and designed to help us react quickly. When the alarm sounds, System 1 immediately starts looking for an explanation. It's probably another false alarm. Let's wait another minute. Someone else probably knows what's going on. Those thoughts aren't unusual. They're human. But experienced incident leaders know that the first explanation isn't always the right one. So they intentionally slow their thinking just enough to engage System 2. Instead of asking, "What do I think is happening?" they ask, "What do I actually know?" That one question changes everything. It shifts the focus away from assumptions and toward facts, away from predicting the outcome and toward protecting people. That's why experienced incident leaders don't wait for certainty. They make the safest, reasonable decision with the information they have, then continue gathering facts and adjusting their response as the incident unfolds. That's the shift, from reacting to thinking. And that's exactly what our operations manager was doing. If experienced incident leaders think differently, how do they actually do it? At RiskHound, we teach a simple decision-making framework called CALM because pressure has a way of making even simple decisions feel complicated. CALM gives you a structured way to slow your thinking, focus on what matters, and make better decisions during the first few minutes of an incident. Let's walk through it. C. Control your breathing. Before you control the incident, control yourself. One slow, deliberate breath interrupts the body's stress response and helps you regain clear, deliberate thinking. When you control your breathing, you create space to make better decisions. A. Assess the situation. Now begin building the picture. Observe what's happening. Separate facts from assumptions. Identify your immediate priorities. Situational awareness isn't about knowing everything. It's about understanding enough to make your next decision. L. Lead yourself before your team follows your instructions. They'll follow your example. Manage your emotions. Challenge your assumptions. Stay objective. Your mindset becomes the foundation for every decision that follows. M. Manage the next step. Don't try to solve the entire incident all at once. Focus on the most important action you can take right now, then the next one, and then the next. Incidents are resolved one good decision at a time. When the pressure rises, don't think farther. Think clearer. Control your breathing. Assess the situation. Lead yourself. Then manage the next step. That's how experienced incident leaders stay ahead of the incident instead of reacting to it. Now let's return to our story and watch CALM in action. By now, less than 2 minutes have passed since the alarm first sounded, but the atmosphere inside the building has begun to change. The uncertainty hasn't disappeared, but something more important has happened. Someone has started leading. The operations manager pauses for a brief moment before reaching for the radio. One slow breath, one clear decision. Then a calm voice breaks through the uncertainty. Begin evacuating your assigned areas. Use your designated exits and report to your assembly locations. There is no attempt to explain what caused the alarm because no one knows yet. Instead, the focus remains exactly where it should be, protecting people while better information is still being gathered. Almost immediately, hesitation gives way to movement. Employees who had been standing still now know what to do. Supervisors guide their teams toward the exits. Conversations become purposeful, and the uncertainty that had been spreading through the building is gradually replaced with organization. Questions still exist, but confusion no longer controls the room because leadership has filled the void. Outside, the operations manager continues building the picture one fact at a time. Department supervisors begin accounting for their teams while information starts flowing from across the facility. Within minutes, a maintenance technician reports hearing a loud pop near an electrical room just before the alarm activated. It is the first credible piece of information anyone has received, not because someone stopped to investigate, but because the evacuation created the time and space for reliable information to reach the person coordinating the response. With accountability underway and the first facts beginning to emerge, the operations manager turns attention to the next priority. When the fire department arrives, they are met with clear, organized information instead of speculation. The building has been evacuated. Accountability is nearly complete. One employee reported a possible electrical issue near the northeast mechanical room. No theories, no assumptions, just facts. Armed with that information, responding crews immediately know where to begin their investigation, instead of spending valuable time sorting through conflicting reports. Fortunately, the investigation confirms what no one could have known during those first moments. A malfunctioning electrical panel triggered the alarm. There is no fire, no injuries, and no significant damage beyond the failed equipment. Before long, employees return to work and production resumes as though it had been nothing more than a routine interruption. For most people in the building, it will become just another fire alarm they barely remember. For the operations manager, however, it was something entirely different. It was a demonstration of incident leadership. Not because every answer was known, but because the right priorities were established from the very beginning. Control yourself, assess the situation, lead yourself, manage the next step. One decision at a time. That's how uncertainty becomes leadership. This week's challenge isn't about your fire alarm. It's about your first leadership decision. Sometime this week, think about your workplace. Now imagine the fire alarm activates. Before you think about the cause, before you think about whether it's real, ask yourself one question. What would my very first leadership decision be? Not your second, not your fifth, the very first one. Then ask yourself, why would I make that decision? If your answer is, because that's what we've always done, keep thinking. If your answer is, because it best protects people while I continue gathering information, you're beginning to think like an incident leader, because every incident begins with one decision. Make that first one a good one. We'll bring you another leadership challenge next week. But until then, put this one into practice. Every workplace incident has the potential to become a leadership lesson. The incident is over. The lesson doesn't have to be. This has been the RiskHound Weekly Brief, helping everyday managers become more confident workplace incident leaders. Until next week, keep thinking like an incident leader.